me just a second here, folks, to get synced up, and we'll get straight into it this morning. Forrest is in the house. He's on time this morning. What's up, Forrest? I saw Jelly Bean lurking here. West Virginia homesteading mom. Moderators, thank you for being here as well. I've been watching the chat for a couple of minutes. I had my coffee ready a little bit early this morning. Sometimes I struggle, sometimes not. Gray the Beard. How you doing, brother? American Trucker's Wife. True American Loretta, how are you doing, ma'am? Prepper Day. So, happy hump day. It is hump day, right? I've been struggling because the computer says Wednesday. My watch, I don't know if y'all can see that, actually says Tuesday. So I don't know how many daylight savings times I've missed, but happy hump day. Not that it matters much here at the Ponderosa. I've been married 20 years, so I don't know. There's like a statute of limitations or something at some point, right? I want to get straight into it this morning. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start rambling after the main topic of each video every morning. Okay, so Costco, and I put this intel down below, they have warned shoppers of a toilet paper shortage, paper towels. Many of you, if you shop at Costco, maybe you've seen that they are out, and they've been out for a while. And they have admitted they can't keep up with the demand. This is problematic because preppers are not the ones out here hoarding toilet paper. We've seen this movie before. We saw it last year. I remember, some of you may remember, I think it was called Panic at the Disco or something. I did a video and I made the analogy that preppers were standing at the edge of the water and we see the storm coming and everybody else is up here dancing and cutting the rug and they're not paying attention. So during this time when you see the storm coming, that's your time to prep. You have a huge advantage there. But it's problematic now because if non-preppers have started hoarding toilet paper, that means they're starting to wake up. The zombies are starting to wake up. And they are meandering on down to the water with us. It makes it harder for us to prep. Now, I think there's still time, but the window is closing very quickly because if they're hoarding toilet paper and paper towels, and that's exactly what's going on. They're going to hoard them. And then when they run, into the problems with food and things like this, they're going to point to preppers. They're going to blame us. They're going to call us hoarders. Again, we've seen this movie before. But it means that we're running out of time. That advantage of prepping in front of the zombies is almost gone. Because as more and more non-preppers, as we call them here, zombies, I catch hate for that, but it's the truth. They act like zombies. As more and more zombies start to realize, they start to wake up and they say, hey, this hole has been here on the shelf in the grocery store for 6 months. That is going to actually lead, I believe, to panic shopping. Again, we've seen this movie before. Think long and hard about the things that ran out in your particular area last year when all the panic shopping was going on. Key on those items first because they're probably going to be the first ones to go again. One thing about non-preppers, if they lived through 2020 and here they are again hoarding toilet paper again, they're obviously slow learners and they didn't pick up a whole lot, from the panic last time. So they're probably going to have the same shopping patterns for the most part. You guys understand. Now, some people woke up in 2020. And that's awesome. If that's you, welcome to the prepping community. But for the most part, we're going to see the same trends again. Of course, we as preppers will be demonized. So I just wanted to start out with that. Okay, folks? I am hoarding lead. Texas Red Leg says, there you go. Nothing wrong with that. Excellent barter item if it comes down to it as well. You want to be careful when you're bartering lead while we're talking about it. Who you're trading it off to. You don't want that thing to come flying back at you, you know what I mean? Prepper Day says gougers. I do remember a few of those from 2020. I remember seeing a couple of stories, Prepper Days, where people were... I just saw a comment. I don't know if it's going to get flagged or what. But, yeah. So anyway, I remember a couple of stories where people were loading like their garages down with toilet paper and paper towels, and they were trying to scalp them on eBay and stuff. I mean, it's just ridiculous, right? If you're going to go through all of that trouble, why not just prep? You know, prepping is actually easier than coming up with a game plan of landing all the toilet paper and the paper towels. I guess there's more money in scalping toilet paper on eBay. I don't know. But I can guarantee you this, it's going to be a great barter item if you ever have to trade with a zombie. So if a zombie has something for whatever reason you want it, now's the time to say, hey, I've got a 12 roll pack of Cottonelle, son, and I'll trade you for that PlayStation 5 or whatever the case may be. But yeah, I mean, I do think as preppers, we obviously have a huge head start, especially if you've been prepping for a while, but we are running out of time. Because once the panic hoarding and the panic shopping, it's hoarding really is what they're going to do. They're going to get their buggies out. Once the toilet paper is completely gone, there's going to be a mad dash in your local grocery store, and they're not going to know what to prep. They're going to be prepping the dumbest things. So like if you're in the little Debbie snack cakes, they're probably going to be gone off the shelves and stuff like that. So just continue to prep, but understand that that's coming. Okay, we saw it last year. Yesterday, a couple of great questions that we're going to cover Saturday on Shotgun Saturday Night. True American Loretta has been we'll get to that in just a second, Loretta. Let me finish this, okay? So, they were asking about the 21st agenda, and somebody yesterday said, how do we stop the digital reset? Both of these are great. They're excellent questions, but they're 20-minute apiece questions. So we'll cover those Saturday during Shotgun Saturday Night, okay? If you're brand new here, we have a show 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday nights. Shotgun Saturday. It's informal. You do not have to dress up. You don't have to worry about, son, which fork to eat with. Nothing like that. Just make a bowl of ice cream or something and sit down and we chill out. So, True American Loretta, it says you've been a member of the Bluecoats for 10 months. I appreciate that, ma'am. I really do. That's awesome. And I'm sure I missed a bunch of chat there. At some point, I noticed a lot of the Death Wish Coffee logos. That means you've been here for a while, folks that don't know. But at some point, that's going to change. I believe we have different colored stars here. 3 different ones. Unless I dreamed it. I don't know. It's possible. So the migrants at the border, good news. They're not coming to stay. We know this because Jen, a.k.a. Chucky, the White House speaker, told us this yesterday. She said they don't need the whiskey shot. They're not coming to stay. You know, they're here for, leisure or pleasure or whatever it is, right? Even though they have their entire family with them, and they have all of their belongings in big plastic bags, they're not coming to stay. It's an illusion. Your eyes are playing tricks on you. So the official story, again, is they're just coming for a couple of weeks. They made this 2-week travel. I forget where they're coming from now, actually. Not Cuba, but down in that area. They've migrated up. It's taken weeks to get here. And you'll see in mainstream media, CNN, they'll run a story and they'll humanize the situation to the point of lunacy. Oh, these people have been through so much. It's been a life-changing experience. They almost died 3 times. And then the very next article, they're talking about, well, they're not here to stay. They're just here to visit. Miami has excellent coffee. They're trying to get to Miami or El Paso. But some of these folks are now being flown back, according to Fox News. And then some of them are, unfortunately, being released into the United States. No whiskey shot. No idea who these people are. I guess it's, a family of 4 or 5. Let's let them on in. So that is what's going on in Texas. Yes, some, Meg, there was no official number. You know what I mean? Apparently they are upset, the ones that are being flown back to their home country. They are upset. But again, this is according to Fox, so take that with a grain of salt. Anybody been keeping up with Australia? I think they've had enough, folks. I really do. I take my hat off to the folks in Australia. Haitians, thank you very much, Joseph. So, I mean, that's a long journey, right? All the way up, and just to hang out. You know what I mean? Good morning, Rudy. How you doing, sir? So, yeah, I believe the folks in Australia have had enough. I've been seeing a lot of footage. It's getting suppressed online, but it's showing up on social media, okay? And they're fighting back. I mean, their protests, they're mostly peaceful protests, right? But thousands of people, they're gathering. They're going basically, they're ignoring all mandates. The police are getting in the way. They're setting up barricades. These people are just bull charging the barricades. They're knocking officers down. It's their country, and they want to be free to move about, and it looks like that is exactly what they are doing. The Canary Islands, somebody brought this up yesterday in chat, and I'm so sorry that I missed him. My editor was actually in the chat yesterday, my book editor, and he's in the Canary Islands. There's a volcanic eruption. They are predicting it's going to last 3 months. The last email I got a couple of days ago, he said it's not a huge problem in terms of, life or, causing some sort of weather event on the East Coast. He's keeping an eye on it. If he lets me know, hey, this is getting bad, I will relay that to you. And if he happens to be in here, man, just raise your hand. They might have questions for you, brother. Meg, did you hear BLM is now against passports? Who would have guessed that one? Okay, so let me get into this. Let me tap dance around it. Okay, so Biden is the ultimate president when it comes to bringing people together. Okay, I don't like the BLM movement. I think it's an extension of communism. Of course their lives matter. Everybody's life matters. But they're being funded by some really shady people, and that's been the case. But the thing is, I actually agree with them on this. Leave it to Joe Biden to put me on the same bench as what I believe is a communist group, okay? I think that as an American, you should have the right to move about freely. We're going to cover this in great detail Saturday night, but I saw a disturbing video. We posted it and talked about it over on Patreon yesterday. It was an African-American man and his family. They went into a pizza restaurant in New York City. They legally had religious exemptions from the mandate, and they still weren't served. And the disturbing part about that video was that the place was packed and nobody stood up with this man. Nobody had this man's back. Everybody looked away, or they were looking at their phones. And that's problematic, because that turns us into World War II Germany. Okay, and again, we'll get into it in great detail, but the atrocities that happened during World War II, they're not just pinned on the shoulders of one man, one evil man, but he couldn't do that by himself. It took a nation of people looking the other way or putting their head in the sand, and it took a nation of police officers that were willing to do the dirty work. And I'm seeing that all over again in real time. And so, if you happen to see that, I don't care what your position is on the whiskey shot, if you've had it, if you haven't had it, I don't really care. It's not my business. That's your business. But if you see something like that happening, stand up for the individual, because they're still human, they still have rights, and to be excluded, even though legally they had an exemption, is ridiculous. Generators Homesteading Journey, welcome to the Blue Coats. Thank you very much for that. And yeah, I'm missing stuff here, aren't I? Cinnamon Girl, welcome to the Coffee Club, man. So sorry to get off on a tangent there, but politics aside, it doesn't matter if the person is obviously a liberal. You know, I'm still going to stand up for that person because at the end of the day, we're Americans, right? We can't afford to make that mistake again. We can't afford to make a boogeyman out of a group of the population and convince ourselves it's okay to do whatever to these people. That's not cool. So the Lithuanian Ministry of Defense, and this comes from, I believe it was either Sky News or BBC, I believe Sky News, has told the people in Lithuania, stop buying Chinese phones. And if you have a Chinese-made phone, throw it away. They have discovered, I don't know if you would call it spyware or software on the phone that was hidden, and it is actually censoring certain phrases. So if you mention the independence of Taiwan, for example, it is censoring the message. If you mention the word church, it is censoring that as well. And so that is very problematic. They have made the phones apparently, installed this stuff so they can censor in other countries. And Lithuania finally caught on to this. And, they're asking people abroad as well. I mean, in Lithuania, but they want all people to be aware if your phone was made in China, this could potentially be a problem for you as well. Finally, before we get into the chat, LA and Long Beach, the ports are completely packed. It's been this way for a while. And there are now 70 cargo ships in queue, which is fancy talk for they have 70 ships full of things that we need in this country that are being imported, sitting out in the water, anchored in the water because there's nowhere at port for them to dock and unload. And there's nowhere at port for them to dock and unload because there are still shipping containers sitting there. There is a labor shortage. Obviously, there's nobody there to unload this stuff. They cannot keep caught up. LA and Long Beach, they account for 40% of all U.S. imports. So anything from toys at Christmas to prepping items that you may need that come in from other countries, food items, things like this. This is a huge log jam, and this is going to wreck the supply line if they do not get this fixed. So I just wanted to mention that as well, okay? Grade A Land says inflation going to go higher. That is correct. That is inevitable. When you continue, and I'm not a financial expert, as Rudy says at the Alaska Prepper. It's like a club. We're both not financial experts. But you don't need to be an expert to understand that if you try and print worthless money, hand over fist to fix all of your problems, eventually the money becomes worth less. And then when you have a supply line that can't stay caught up, the cost of business goes up. And companies are not going to just eat the cost of business. They're going to pass it down to consumers. So if it costs more for a grocery store to get what they need, they're going to up the price on everything. And here you are, and your money is now worth less. So it doesn't take a rocket science to figure out. We're getting into worrying about hyperinflation soon, I think. Big German Prepared says Taiwan is an independent country. Let's see if YouTube takes it down. They might. I might have just flagged myself, but it's okay. Prepper Medic, time to hunker down and ride out the coming storm. It really is like, as preppers, we know that we're headed for bad times. And we are, not to discourage you, if you've been prepping, you're far more prepared than the average person. But it's still going to be rough, And there are too many people, I think, that don't understand this. Too many. I know a couple. We were just talking about Caveman James yesterday. One of my best friends. Been my best friend since elementary school. But I can't get sense into his head. I can't get him to the point where he's actually prepping. And some people are just wired that way. They will not listen. Let me see. Appalachian Mercantile. Most of our plastic packaging comes from those cargo ships. That's a good point. It's causing more food production issues. I'll tell you guys a story that's both sad and funny. So we buy bread the other day from the Walmart deli, or you know how some of them they have like the deli, and then they'll have the breads and stuff. Go to get Italian bread, and my wife notices it's not packaged normal. What they're having to do at our local Walmart now is they're taking the long produce bags from produce, and then they're putting the bread in it, and they're tying it up, and they're trying to make it look like there's not a shortage on bags. But we've also ran into the problem at other stores where they'll ask you, do you need a bag for this? And I'm looking down and we got 15 things, and I'm like, yeah, Hoss, we need a bag. So there is apparently a shortage on that as well. Jelly Bean says, my local grocery store has not had plastic bags for weeks. Wow. I mean, we have them, but they're trying to ration them out without coming out and saying, hey, we need to ration these out. You can't, especially at Walmart's the worst, you can't get a straight answer. So we knew what was going on. I told my wife, but this has been a couple of months ago. When the lunch meats and stuff, the prepackaged stuff started to disappear. I said, there's something going on, with meats. We need to go ahead and stock up. So we get to the checkout, and we're asking, and they're like, oh, yeah, the coolers are broken. Back there is what it is. And I'm like, but there's still meat in the coolers. It's just not a lot. There are 2 or 3 spots that are completely full, and the rest of it. And now, here we are a couple of months later, and it's the same situation. So they're not going to give you a straight answer. I think they don't want people to panic. They don't want people to understand how bad it is. And that could be, and I'm speaking off the cuff here, but that could be one of the reasons that the prepping community kind of gets picked on by Big Brother. They don't want us telling you that there's a problem and that you need to prepare for it, okay? They don't want people to panic, maybe. Jason, sometimes you have to define the word shortage. So, I totally understand that. Shortage for me is if I walk in and they don't have what I'm looking for. So, for anybody that doesn't know, like if we go in and we're looking for juice boxes, both kids are in school, juice boxes, right? And there's 20 spots for the juice boxes, but there's only 1 or 2 spots that are full, and the prices have went up astronomically. To me, that's a shortage. And then I start digging into, why is there a shortage? Why are the prices so high? Bosco says, at the wholesale level, it is getting really tricky. If you can get it, price is going up really high. We have a small family restaurant. Well, I'm sorry to hear that you're struggling with that with the restaurant and everything. Number one, I have to ask you, and you can put this in the chat, is that forcing you to drive your prices up? Because it seems like it would. Number two, I've actually heard from a lot of people, Sam's Club and things like that, that they just don't have a lot of the normal stock, or they'll have 2 or 3 spots on a shelf, and they're putting the same item in all 3 spots to make up for the fact that 2 spots are missing completely. DA, not trying to be funny, but I believe the obesity level in America is about to seriously decline. I don't think that's funny at all. I think it's true. Americans, let's be honest. We are creatures of comfort. We like what we like. And when that stuff starts to disappear, the average non-prepper starts to wake up eventually, and they start asking questions. Now, they immediately hoard toilet paper at this point and paper towels. I don't know why that is, but, that's really what wakes people up, is going in and not being able to find, the moon pies that you eat 3 times a day or whatever. truth warrior, if people are able to drive a couple of hours to get food, do it, in my opinion. I do think moving forward, it may be smart for people not to buy a lot of groceries in one place. You don't want to pull too many eyeballs your way. A lot of people I've noticed in grocery stores, I mean, they're getting $50 worth of food because that's all they can afford. You know, a lot of people don't have the baskets anymore, or they do have the baskets, not the carts. And you don't want to be that person that has $600 worth of groceries rolling up there and it's all prepping stuff, right? So maybe hit several stores in succession or something like that. River Rat Dollar Store has moon pies. Well, who knew? I've had them with RC before, but it's been a while. Pumpkin pie is my thing. Like, I can't stay away from pumpkin pie. That's my problem. Arknan, do people not know you can wipe on old clothes, Sears catalogs, and leaves, or the fiat currency soon? If they keep printing the fiat currency, that's all it's going to be good for. At some point, you know, it's going to be toilet paper with dead presidents' faces on it. Kayla says sweet potato pie. I also like sweet potato pie, yeah. I really do. What about pumpkin moon pies, Jeremy? I've never actually heard of those. If they make them, they don't have them here. Apple pie for the win, Jelly Bean says. Well, Forrest says we are buffering, which is very possible at this point. What do we start off with? We start off with toilet paper, and then it's off the rails at this point. Beaver Moon, Reckless has not forgotten that we are a beaver eating nation, and some people prefer the wet beaver. I was actually I showed the moderators. I was working on a wet beaver t-shirt with the Prepper Nation logo, and my wife came in and she said absolutely not appropriate. So I had to pull the plug on that one. But I was working on it. It was going to be both classy and kind of have that punchline, underneath. And she's like, nah. The wife shut it down. Sarah, make no mistake, the wife runs this house. For the first 10 or so years of marriage, I denied it. I'm like, nah, I wear the pants around here. But once you've been married 20 years plus, you pick and choose your battles. And I'm just like, you gotta keep your lady happy. So exactly, American trucker's wife, smart man, happy wife, happy life. As long as I don't stress her out, she kind of leaves me alone, and I do my own thing. She doesn't jump on me too much if I'm buying like retro video games, or hey baby, I just ordered a $100 machete or something like that. She's pretty cool with it usually. American Oma, I totally wear the pants. I should have put that poll on here when we started the live stream. Do you wear the pants in the relationship? The Prepping Preacher, 34 years secret. 2 words, yes dear. Grade A land, need machete for the zombie. What happened with the machete, just so y'all don't think I'm a high roller. Y'all know BattleBox, and I've worked with BattleBox. They sent one that was designed after the type they use in the Philippines, and I reviewed it and everything, and it was awesome. Okay, just totally awesome. So wife's uncle is over here, Jack, and he's like, man, you need to come off that machete. And it was it was like 2 days before his birthday. So I just gave it to him and ordered another because I liked it as well. So, no, it is not appropriate. Well, we dodged a bullet on that one then. There should be a link below, Sean, or you can go to Amazon and just type the name in. what do you? Okay, ink scars. That's an awesome question. We'll close with that. What do you see pushing us over the proverbial SHTF bridge? I think there's going to be more pushback on the mandates than the people in charge think there's going to be. It's starting in the bigger cities now. Someone made the comment yesterday over on Patreon, actually, the video I was telling you folks about. They said something like that would never happen, in rural America. And the thing is, if we allow it to happen in the cities, I promise you, eventually it's going to be happening in rural America as well. And so at some point, I think they're going to see major pushback to the level that we are seeing in Australia. And that is going to push it over the line in between that and the just a totally fractured supply line. Guys, we still haven't caught up from 2020 when the supply line was limping around and stuff. We haven't caught up. Beef prices haven't come down. Lumber prices barely, maybe. The gas is still up. Pork, things like this. And so if we run into it again, I mean, we're talking bad news. So get your prepping in order as much as you can. East Wind Farms, I saw that comment. I'm not going to say anything about it. Yep, we're in the ditch now. But God bless y'all for being here. Thank you very much. If you don't mind, shoot a thumbs up on the way out the door or down or whatever. And I will see you folks tomorrow morning. God bless.